I've made a good amount of videos at this point talking about cases where I think the critic score on Rotten Tomatoes is too low. Another example that I can think of would be Blade and Blade 2. Blade is an important movie for the genre because it helped to launch the modern era of comic book movies. Then Blade 2, I think, is legitimately a great sequel. So when I look these movies up in Rotten Tomatoes and see that they have a low score on that site, I'm pretty sure they're rotten on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't get that at all. Now, to be clear, I'm not actually a big horror guy, so when it comes to my own personal taste, personal preferences, I can't say that I'm as much into the Blade movies. Actually, I've only seen them one time at this point, but even though they aren't really my thing, I'm not a big vampire guy, I can still look at them and say, yeah, these are great movies. Just looking at them logically, I mean, the stories are really well told. There's good world building. This world of vampires, vampire hunters, pretty interesting. I think the movies do a good job introducing the audience to the lore and mythology of Blade. There's good acting. I think that visually the movies hold up. I thought they still looked good. There's well done, well choreographed action scenes. I think Wesley Snipes does a good job in the title role, and I think that the movies are those two movies are just well written. Of course, Blade 3 was a disappointment, but look back at Blade and Blade 2, and I think they should have a higher score on Rotten Tomatoes. Of course, Blade is an important film, like I mentioned earlier, but aside from its importance, I think that it is a really good movie, even if it's not my thing. And so this is similar, honestly, to what I was talking about with The Exorcist, where, yeah, I haven't actually seen the movie myself, but I can still acknowledge that it's an important movie. It's one of the most famous horror films ever made. It's really well done. There's a difference between saying, hey, this movie isn't for me, it's not my thing, not to my personal preferences, versus it was badly done. You can say that, hey, The Exorcist isn't my thing, but still acknowledge that it's well done. That's the way I would describe Blade as well. If you look at the first two Blade movies and say, well, they're badly done, I don't know, you're going to have a hard time convincing me. Like, how are the movies bad? It's one thing if they're not to your personal taste or personal preferences, that's fine. But trying to say that they're bad movies, how? I don't get that at all. Especially considering how the way I've heard people talk about Blade and Blade 2, I was surprised when I looked up these movies and saw that the critic score on Rotten Tomatoes is low. It just doesn't make sense to me. I'm in a different video definitely going to talk about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, that first movie from 1990. So I think that score is too low as well.